you know, easy just to go and put your money down and everything's done for you. The flight, the holiday routine, the reservations and everything is laid on. But in the earlier days, I don't think there were people who were able to do it.
So really, when you'd had your family then, your daughter and your son, your holidays were mostly sort of English seaside holidays, were they?
Oh yes, yeah. When the children were small, Mark and Lorraine, I didn't actually own a car, if I remember, in those days. I used to hire a car. A friend of mine who was a policeman, and he had a friend of his who used to do some mechanical repairs and things, and he used to always have a couple of cars, it seemed, spare that he was either working on or selling or something. So I used to hire a car for him for, I think it was £1 a day, so it was £7 a week for an old car. And I can remember one particular car I ended up with, which was a great big Humber Hawk limousine, 2 or 3 litre thing, massive great car compared to my old thing. And we used to go off to a caravan, which was either at Margate or somewhere on the south coast, and we'd stay in a caravan for the 7 days or so, and do simple holidays like days on the beach playing sand castles, and either go back to the caravan and cook something or pick some fish and chips up on the way back. And we had things which were quite cheap and cheerful, really, because we didn't have monies to go into posh restaurants or things like that. But you still lived a reasonable life, and if you wanted something special, you could always still get round to getting it, and even if you ended up cooking it yourself, you ended up with a nice meal.
So looking back over your life then, would you what would you say the highlights were? What for you the moments that stand out, your proudest moments or your happiest moments?
Well, I think people of my generation, we had sort of families as our background, and I think it's the family tie-up that's important to us. Some people had great ambitions to do this, that and the other, or make an awful lot of money, but I think from my own point of view, we had certain achievements that you were pleased about. I had calls to work for the deposit for our first house, which was in Seven Kings, and apart from my Johnny Walker job, I used to do a part-time job for another 20 hours a week as a driving instructor, and we saved up for 2 years, and when we put down our deposit and bought our first house, that was quite a tremendous achievement, really, because my parents had never owned a house, and lots of people didn't get round to buying a house, even in those days, in the what was that, the 50s. When did we get married? What year was that?
58.
58 we got married, so
We bought our house in 1962.
and we bought our house in 1962, so that was quite a big achievement, really. But I think the main thing from us as a family's point of view was just living a reasonably sensible life, having a decent holiday, hopefully managing our finances without getting into too much trouble, paying the bills, etc., and generally keeping our heads above water. And once again, getting round to even buying a car, which we did again eventually. That was quite an achievement. And even though they were old cars, we had a means of transport, so that was quite a good thing for us as a family.
Are there sort of any ambitions that you had or that you still have that you feel you haven't achieved? Are there any things that you would have liked to have achieved with your life?
Well, I suppose probably things that I could have gone and gone ahead on and done, but I never had any driving thoughts to go and do something special. I always say to Francis that my outside ambition was to be a playboy, but I think that was said in jest rather than serious conversation. But I think I'm a pretty content sort of man, and as long as we're well, and as I say, we live comfortably, and we've got our health. I think to me, that's probably the most important thing. I was never going to be a great sportsman or anything in that line, but if I'd have had possibly a bent towards anything like that, it would have been, when I see people play tennis, it would have been maybe a wonderful thing to have been really good at something like that, rather than just knocking the ball over the net.
So how would you like people to remember you in the future then? What would you like them to remember about you as a person?
Well, he wasn't a bad old sod, so hopefully they say that I was quite an amenable sort of bloke to rub along with. We got friends, got lovely friends, and although some of them have passed on now, we had wonderful holidays with friends and kept close contact. And I think friends are very, very important, as well as your close family. I think having that tie-up is also a very, very important part of your life.
What would you say were the hardest moments of your life and the toughest times?
I think illness, really, and injury. I think where you end up with problems. Well, everybody gets problems like injuries and disabilities and things, but I think that is one of the hardest things to overcome, to feel that you're getting back to normal, and when you do, you realise how nice it is just to be, an ordinary Joe that can get around and do the things that you used to do.
And just sort of generally looking back again, sort of in life in general, what sort of major events do you remember, sort of politically or historically, that stand out to you?
Well, when I was in the forces, the Korean War was on, and although I didn't actually get involved in any of that, it was quite a thought at the back of our mind as young guys of 19 and 20 that we could possibly been involved in a war. There was the follow-up war some years later in Vietnam, but of course by then I'd become a civilian. But I think the things that stick in your mind of recent years is the problems that have gone around with terrorism, and the New York Twin Towers thing, which was an earth shaker for the whole world, really. I think things like that stand out in your mind when you're looking back.
So on your 80th birthday, what advice would you have for anybody in life to get to 80?
Well, the most important thing is to keep breathing and keep yourself reasonably fit if you can. Don't overindulge. I gave up smoking when I was 24, I think. No, less than that, I think under 24. And although I do have the odd drink, it is the odd drink, I don't overindulge in either smoking or drinking. I think we eat sensibly, we do things in a reasonable fashion, and I think moderation. I should take more exercise, which I probably feel guilty about sometimes, but most things in moderation, and hopefully we chog along and look forward to a telegram from the Queen, hopefully, and I might get an invite to Buckingham Palace to have tea as well.